Looks like I'm going to get a haircut here today. Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see you all, and I've always wondered what you look like. Today's topic is finding your strength in difficult times. Is there anyone here who's having difficult times? But can I just see the hands and hold them up there, please? All right, everybody, see? No, wait, everybody turn around and walk. Keep the hands up, please. Anyone having difficult times? All right, hands down. Can I see the hands of those who did not put their hands up? What are you, crazy? Do you know what your problem is? You see, the problem is, did you see how people's hands went up? You know? Everyone is afraid to admit that things aren't going well when they're not going well. Isn't that right? The way you fix things when they're not going well is to begin by saying, things aren't going well. How do you pay attention to the squeaky wheel unless you hear it squeaking? And here are people looking around to see who is saying, I'm not having an easy time in my life. We all walk around with blinders on, thinking we're the only ones in it. And do you know why we do that? We do it because there's something about the way in which we were all brought up that makes us believe that if things aren't going well, we must be bad. Or if things aren't going well, we must be punished. Or if things aren't going well, we deserve it. Isn't that right? And the answer is, of course, it's true. It is true. You did something wrong. And it got worse because you didn't admit you did something wrong. You get into a lousy relationship and something happened at the wedding ceremony. You're not exactly sure what it was, but it was the way he treated his mother, or she spoke to her father who put on the affair and said, well, I told you should have had more expensive flowers. And you suddenly realize you're in for it. And when things start going wrong, what happens is you pretend that what you know would go wrong isn't going wrong, so you don't feel bad about what's going wrong really taking place, because you don't want to be validated for your bad expectation in the beginning when it's the truth all along. And when you get rid of the person, you say, well, finally I realized the thing that you realized the first moment you met the person. The truth is, you know everything about the other person the first moment you meet them, because everybody has their past history in their life right up there in front of you. You know this. I mean, you absolutely know this. You'll meet someone and there's something about them you don't like. And then a half hour later, you realize you were mistaken. The difference between the first impression actually talking and the half hour is called politics and salesmanship. Now, I'm not saying that if you're not crazy in the head, you're going to have the same opinion about everybody. Crazy people do have the same opinion about everybody. Crazy people think everybody's out to get them, everyone's out to cheat them, everyone's out to do them wrong. But the truth is, you know about crazy people. If everyone were out to get you, they would have gotten you by now, right? I mean, you have to think about this. But crazy people don't put that together. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, let's make the assumption, and it's a long reach for this morning, I know, I'm in the valley, that you're not crazy, okay? Is there anyone who was insulted by that? You really? Too bad. I'm sure you're going to get over something. The point is that if you're not crazy, and if you are crazy, by the way, can we get a definition of crazy? A long time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. Got that? Does everyone have that? I'm going to give it to you again. A long time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. That's crazy. I remember my second year of psychiatric training, I went to an institution. They sent us all away. And at this institution, there was a man standing outside the door. And he would mutter the most amazing streak of obscenities, and they were all adjectives followed by the word psychiatrist. Psychiatrist, psychiatrist. good morning, doctor, good morning. And you go in, and I said, who's that? He said, oh, he used to be an orderly here. And then we caught him assisting some patients in some crazy behavior in the back wards. He was all over the walls, you know. And since that time, someone said, Frank's crazy, we should put him in here. Well, he already was in there, but he was going home nights. So instead, a lot of people are like that, you'll find. So listen, this is my bread and butter, you know? And Frank never forgave the doctor who committed him. And that was 20 years ago. And he was as angry that morning, 20 years later, as he was the day he'd been committed. So a long time between the original hurt and the expression of anger is crazy. You all know people who are crazy. It happened 5 years ago. You meet them at a party, they're still mad at you. That's a crazy person. Because crazy, well, definition of neurotic, so we can help you all out, all right? We're all neurotic, okay? This is what neurotic means. It means some part of the past, some part of your life interferes with the clarity with which you perceive the world or the freedom with which you act. Right? So to some degree, we're all bound by something neurotic. Doesn't mean that it's all bad. We don't throw our 22-year-old kid out in the street because he deserves to be thrown out in the street because you were thrown out in the street. Okay, so you have some sensitivity to it. But it's neurotic. Both of you have to get over it for the kid to grow up. Everybody there? If you're not there, it's okay. We'll get you there. The problem is that since we're all living in some part of the past, until we understand what distorts our view, we're unable to deal in the present as free agents and to solve our problems freely. If we think that admitting we're having business difficulties means that we're failures or that we're not good people, because we were told that we wouldn't succeed by someone when we were a child, then that opinion of ourselves is the thing that holds us back. Do any of you have any really wealthy friends? I mean, someone who's worth $10, $15, $20 million. And you go shopping with them, they have no problem whatsoever with saying, oh, that's too expensive. Right? And they say it very, very quickly. Well, I'm not going to pay that for that. Where if you can barely make it, you say, how much is that? $1,500. I'll take it. Everyone see I took it? Did you see? But very rich people don't have that compunction because that's not their neurosis. Do you understand what I'm saying? This proves exactly what I'm talking about. Being poor is a neurosis because it makes you feel like you can't appear poor. You know, there's always that joke it's a New Yorker cartoon. The elevator door opens and 4 gentlemen come out. 3 are dressed in brilliant suits and all this, and they follow them down the hall. One goes into the clerk's office, another one goes into assistant's office, and the real schlumper goes into the president's office because he's running the company. He doesn't have anything to prove. When you have something to prove, you are always at a disadvantage because the thing you have to prove is probably the thing that got you into trouble that you're in right now. You couldn't be vulnerable, so you didn't admit you were hurting. You were proud. You had to show that you couldn't make a mistake, so the mistake you made killed you. Your weakness and your strength live together in you. And unless you're aware of your weakness that interferes with your exercise of your strength is not your strength. It's only something that's going to get you in trouble. My strength, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an honest person. Would anyone disagree with that? I don't have a strong enough opposite. No one? I'm an honest person, isn't that right? Honesty, he cuts right through, sees with the laser insight, knows what's going on in your mind, like the shadow, all that stuff, right? My weakness is that I am a bullshitter. I admit it. I am the first one to admit it. As a matter of fact, I know it so well. And I have seen it in operation nearly destroy me in my life growing up that I am the first one to be looking for it, because that's my weakness. That glib tongue, that ability to mellifluously seduce an audience with such grace and ease is poison to me. Because my heart is true, but when I let that mind operate and try, you want to know how bright I was in school? I mean, you know what I'm saying? All of those things are my enemy, and I know they still live in me. I ain't going to let them out, but I'm not going to deny that they're there, because I cannot cage the animal I don't know exists. And most of us go through life having great difficulty because we refuse to admit that there's a weakness. Come on, your lives are in trouble like everybody else's. Why do you think they got in trouble? Because you were right all the time? Think about that. Because you made the right decisions? Because you were smart? Because you figured things out? Because you acted after great consideration? Or did you get in trouble because you thought things were a certain way? Or you trusted someone to be good to you? Or you thought someone was telling you the truth? When it was the truth you wanted to hear and knew that it was not going to happen. Do you believe those clearinghouse things that have told you you are on the list to win $10 million? Do you believe their ads are real when they go, oh, and everyone is dressed, you know? America doesn't look like that in the morning, you know? Take 6. Oh, look at this, Marsha. I'm going to faint. This is America. We understand that things aren't that way, but in our own lives, we want to believe things. For example, did you know that your odds of winning the California lottery are just about the same if you buy a ticket or you don't? They don't tell you to figure life out in that simple way. What I want you to understand is that your weaknesses and strengths are vital for you to recognize, because your strength and your weakness determine the shape of the world you live in. The world is just out there. It's not good. It's not bad. You go on a scavenger hunt into the world every day, seeking out the things you need. What do you need? Sometimes you need to prove that someone's wrong. Sometimes you need to prove that his mother is the worst person in the world. Sometimes you need to prove that your kid is smarter. And any time you need to prove something, you destroy the clarity of your perception of the world, because you are on a prejudiced scavenger hunt. And you are sorting for a particular item. And you are creating a list to prove your point. People who know they are right don't try to prove anything. They just live. People who don't know they're right are trying to prove to other people that they were right, and therefore corrections and reparations should be made for the injuries that were done before. Let's start out. All the injuries that were done to you, pretty much in your life, had a lot to do with your neediness to expose yourself to the danger. You wouldn't have been with a person like that if you had your smarts on. What was wrong with me should be the first statement you make after you get hurt. What was wrong with me? That person is never going to change. No one changes. The best we do in life is that we learn to come more from our strength, from our better side. That's what we mean when a person changes. So when someone hurts you, if you go, there's the culprit, notify the LA Times, call the stations, get the police, this is the bad person, and you're still within target range, what do you do when you put the finger at yourself? This is the moron? Well, that's what you are when you do that. You refuse to admit that the people who can hurt you hurt you. What you need to do is stop making life personal. Make it ordinary. Someone hurts you, get out of the way, thank you very much. This person hurts me. Don't say, but this person shouldn't hurt me. This person is my child. This person is my mother. This person is my boss. Just accept reality for what it is. Don't fight it. Do you know what the purpose of psychotherapy is? The purpose of psychotherapy is to make life ordinary. You ever think about that? When a life is not ordinary, typical explanation, you lose someone you dearly love, right? And that person drove, just for example, a red car. You're at the mall, and behind you, 2 cars back, is a red car. You look up in the rearview mirror of your car, and for a moment your heart goes, what? The hope that the reality that has transpired didn't take place. Are we all there? Is that crazy? No. But it's not normal. It's just a red car. But you're having problems at the moment in giving up a person you love. So the notion of a red car being the chances that maybe all that bad news, the obituary column, the funeral you attended, the week's memorial, and then the cleaning out the closets, maybe that didn't really take place because you see a red car. There's a red... My cousin Jeannie, who was one of my closest relatives that I ever had, you know, in a family of people who didn't know how to look up at the sun, he was my cousin Jeannie, who had a convertible. When I was a kid, he played in a dance band, and when I came out to California, Jeannie became like the closest relative I ever had. He was just great. And guy in his 60s, and one day he was walking with a limp, and he says, David, I don't know what's wrong with me. And we got him into Cedars, and he was gone in 3 months with a brain tumor. But I would drop off to see him at lunch, and we would have lunches. I mean, this guy was fabulous. My car still goes past his, I have no reason to go by his establishment. He had a huge appliance business. My car drives by it. I don't understand it. Why is that? I mean, I'm trying to go from here to here. I don't need to take that shortcut. It's actually 4 blocks longer. Why does the car go by his place? I don't even remember making the turn. That's extraordinary. I miss Jeannie. Does anyone doubt that? Because my car is just one of those automatic things that we drive. When they put it on automatic, you know, they really did put it on automatic. There's an automatic that goes on there that you can never have. I mean, have you ever had problems in a car? You know, emotional problems in your driving? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes? Okay, audience, we have a problem. I know you're stunned by the clarity and wisdom so that you're like trout in a bowl, but I need more feedback because I'm a recovered insecure person, okay? Have you ever seen one of those movie scenes where the judge says, has the foreman of the jury, have you reached a verdict? And the foreman says, we have, Your Honor. And the judge says, and what is the verdict? And the foreman says, guilty of murder in the 1st degree. You know what the courtroom people in the courtroom do? They turn to each other and they say, walla, 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 as if they were carrying on regular conversation to imitate conversation. So would you just turn to each other and just say, walla, walla, like you have a conversation? Well, everybody, you too. Doesn't that sound like conversation? All right, now, you don't need to be brilliant anymore. I just took it all off your shoulder. So when I say something that sounds terrific or you really get it, walla, walla, right? Right? No, walla, walla. You're slow learners, but we will get there together. Life is supposed to be ordinary, people. Ordinary. It is the unresolved hurt in your life that makes life extraordinary, because you're reminded of the unmourned part of your life whenever you see something that brings it forward. And it can be the saddest things in the world that do that. I called up a friend of ours. I just had this feeling. It was 12:30. I was writing. This is 2 nights ago. 12:30 at night, in the morning, I guess that is. And I said, Karen, something's wrong. I hadn't spoken to her in 2 days, and I called her up at 12:30 in the morning. I said, you're not okay, are you? And she's crying at the other end of the phone. I said, oh, what's wrong? She said, I don't know, it happened the other night. We went to see the movies. I don't remember what we saw. And she's breaking up with her boyfriend because he can't commit. And he's going on a 3-month hideaway to Maui to find his soul, which means he ain't never coming back to that relationship, sucker. When they tell you stuff like that, I need to find myself. I need some space. You know. When someone says I need space, it means I'm getting the hell out of this relationship. Just enough space so you can see my dust, the road runner. Men like to leave, by the way. It's a thing about us. We like the road. especially when you're not on it with us. We don't want to talk about our feelings. It's scary. Oh, God. So I called up Karen. I said, what's the matter, baby? And she said, David, you won't believe what happened. She said, you and Catherine, we all had cappuccino at Kate Mantellini's. That's a place on the other side of the mountain. I give tours of Los Angeles for you people. If you'd like to come over sometime, it's a big city. It's cooler in the summer. I really like the valley. You know, I'm not doing this to you because it's prejudicial. So I said, what happened? He said, well, after we had cappuccino, you walked me back to the car because it was 1:30 in the morning. And the boyfriend, without even saying good night, got in his car and drove off. His explanation was, I'm not feeling good. Well, he hasn't been feeling good since 1946. But he left, and we walked her back to the car, kissed her, and we drove off. I said, well, what's the whole thing? She said, well, when you drove off, I could see through your rear window, that you and Catherine's heads were together, and Catherine, for no reason, reached over and gave you a kiss. And you were going home together to be in the same bed, and I was alone. There was nothing extraordinary about that view through my rear window. But I remember when my first marriage was, I believe the correct psychiatric term is, in the toilet. Oh. It's hard. I remember once walking along the Charles River embankment alone, trying to figure out where I was in my life, saying all those things that you say to yourself. You're young, you're good looking, you've got a certain amount of intelligence, you can do it, and those children, maybe someone could love you someday, it would work out. And then I look up and I saw, I don't know, he's about 21 years old, this guy, and with sideburns, and he doesn't look like anything, right? I'm better looking than him in a minute, right? And he probably doesn't have my education or my brilliance, and he's with someone who looks like a leftover. They're neither attractive people, but they're adoring each other. And there I am trying to find something to hold on to. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh God, everybody has love except me. That's a distortion. I don't know what their relationship was, this couple. They could have been abusive. He could have paid for the interchange. How do I know? But my heart was making that an extraordinary event. The problem is that when we live in our foxhole, you know, you live in a foxhole. Everybody lives in a foxhole, right? You think you have contact with other people. You do not have contact with other people. You approximate contact with other people. You give your pregnant sentence to them. They give their pregnant sentence to you. They haven't heard your pregnant sentence, and you haven't heard their pregnant sentence. You've heard 2 or 3 words in it, which now click into your memory bank. You download your whole trip to them, and then you go off, and both of you have misinterpreted each other and think you're in agreement when you're not in agreement or disagreement. You're just downloading in the world. Everybody there? And then you say, gee, Walla Walla, God bless you, God bless you. But the real killer is you sit down at night with your spouse and you say, you know, I just had the best conversation today with so-and-so, and it was much better than I have with you. We don't know what we're saying half the time. Do you understand what I'm saying? The reason we don't know what we're saying is because we spend so much of our lives hiding the truth from ourselves. We don't want to know what happened. How many of you have had the following circumstance happen? And if you don't, if everybody's had it. So I'm just say me too. Say me too before. Thank you. Then I don't need to tell you. You're talking to somebody. The person is a person of, how shall we say, importance in your life. Someone you depend on for something like approval. That could be your mother. Forget it. She's not giving it this month. Did she give it last month? So this month, why should it be different? She's getting older, she's going to die soon, therefore you owe her more blind obedience, so you're not getting the approval. Your father, has he paid attention? So why would he pay attention? Because he's living with you-know-who, right? I shut it out, that's how I deal with the world. Don't change my life, it works for me. Or the boss, forget that, that's already too tough. So you're with this other person, and in the middle of the conversation, the person says something to you that hurts.
Conversation ends. You go someplace. You're sitting down. You're having a vegetarian sandwich, so it shouldn't be too much cholesterol. You're taking a bite and you say, did that person hurt my feelings? Why did they say that? And what is this lag phase? I'm now 2.5 hours after the time where that comment was made and my feelings are hurt. Anyone been in this situation? Do you know there's no name for it? Do you know it's the most important psychological entity that there is? There is nothing more important than that lag phase? Because that's where craziness develops. It's the time between the hurt and the expression of the anger. And so much of the time you're sitting, wait a minute. Did he say that? He said that. Why did he say that? And so finally you have sorted it out in your head, right? You know how that goes. She said that her car was much neater than my car because I always was a slob. That's what she said. And she threw it off like that. I didn't pay attention to it. I mean, because my car is slobby. I mean, do you want a back issue of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal? They're right here. I go back 3 years right in this car. They're not in order, but I can find every one of them. So there's truth in it, right? It's the truth you can't admit, the thing that you're suppressing. So when you were insulted by it, you couldn't admit that, oh, I am the world's biggest slob in the world, but you don't admit that to yourself, and the person made that hurt. There's nothing that hurts more than a truth that cuts through you and makes you see a pain or a reality about yourself you didn't want to see but had to see. So a lot of the hurt that you're getting is stuff that you don't want to admit, and that's what keeps you from expressing, hey, what are you doing? Hey, making fun of me like that. I got friends in New Jersey. You know what I mean? But we're afraid to stand up for ourselves, because the truth is we are slobs. We do bad bookkeeping emotionally. We have no unsettled accounts. We're in emotional debt. We have unpaid feelings to the past. Everybody admit that. We're all there. Everybody? Walla walla? Thank you so much. I'll have you trained by the time we get out of here. So that lag phase is killing you. That's what's killing you. And that's what you have to learn to deal with. Because the dealing with pressure in difficult times is dealing with what your failure to deal with this lag phase has created. If you had no lag phase, if you could simply react as the pain occurred, you'd be okay. Definition of mental health: telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you. Is that too simple for you? God, I hope so. Maybe you'll even remember it. Telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you. Because if you did that, you wouldn't be in trouble. Why? Because of the following. The name we give to pain depends upon when the pain occurs. Are you with me? This actually requires attention, so stop.
A tape of today, you can buy it. And it also helped my kids in college, which is very interesting because I don't have any kids in college. But if you buy it, I'll adopt a kid and send him to college. It's not that funny, lady. The name we give to pain depends upon when the pain occurs. There are two kinds of feelings, painful and pleasurable. If pleasure gives you pain, it's not pleasure. Let's decide on that right now. It's pain. Pain in the future is pain that hasn't happened. Therefore, we call it anxiety. Okay? Don't make a big deal of this. Anxiety is worrying a little about whether or not the kid is safe, to being in terror now that you hear someone in the house and you know that you're all in the same room and you can hear the person rifling through drawers. Got it? It's all the same thing. It's pain that has not happened. Fear, terror, worry. Don't give it a fancy name. Just call it anxiety. It all means the same thing. You've got to be able to think about feelings. The one thing that I've been concerned with in my entire life is making feelings comprehensible, because feelings have a purpose. Everything about you has a purpose. And if you understand the purpose of your feelings, you can use them to live your life and guide you through. It's when you're afraid to admit that you're in trouble that you have difficulty. It's when you're afraid to admit your feelings that you get into the most jam. Because it's at that time you suppress the only signals that you get that you can trust. People are going to tell you things, but if you feel bad about it, you better pay attention to your feelings. Someone's going to offer you a terrific sale of a great piece of property, and something feels wrong about it, and all the paperwork is great. Don't buy it. Got it? Until you feel right about it, don't buy it. That's all you have. That feeling of anxiety is the sum total of your intellectual, sensory inputs that operate in a way like dreaming. They completely supersede and take over, and they're more accurate than anything else. Maybe the reason you're afraid to buy the property is that you have a competition neurosis with your parent and are afraid of owning a more expensive piece of property and trouncing on your parent. Well, that's fine, but find that out first. Because if you didn't know that and bought the property, the chances are you'd lose the property to punish yourself for that neurosis. But I'm saying if you're having a bad feeling about something, don't do it. Okay? You're not going to listen to that. You're just not going to listen to it. I'm just throwing words out. If you have a bad feeling about something, don't do it. That's the only thing you get. You don't get any more than that. Someone comes to you and says, look at this business deal. It's going to be great. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And they're going to give us this. Why should anyone give you a great deal? Ever think about that in today's world? Why should anyone do anything for you? If you get a bad feeling and a doubt, resolve it. And if you're not permitted to ask the questions to resolve the doubt, you're about to be screwed. Got it? Because that's how it... Because if you're made to look like a fool if you ask the question, if anyone could understand it but you, hey, it's your money, guy. If you have the bad feeling, don't get haughty about it. Just say, is that so? Explain that to me. I don't understand. Remember a rich person? Gee, I can't afford that. Gee, I can't afford that, you say. It's no crime not to be able to afford it. It's a crime to say, gee, I can afford that. One of my friends is actually worth $600 million. Honest to God. I mean, 75-foot yacht with a crew of 4. We have a great times together. He picks up all the tabs. I mean, once I was in Marigot in St. Martin's in a wine store buying wine for his wine cellar on his boat. And he turned to me, from 11 years old I know this guy, says, great, no? I said, it's amazing. He says, yeah. He says, is this really me? I said, no. But he has the ability to say he cannot afford it. He once said something very interesting to me. He said, you know, when you're rich, really rich, you can afford anything, but you still can't afford everything. So you have to choose exactly what you want and be sure you love what you want, because you can get a lot of junk that you don't ever look at just because you want to own it. And then you don't know what to do with it, so you end up throwing it away, and then you feel bad because you're wasting the good money. And you know, you never outgrow your childhood attitude towards money. What $10 was worth to you when as a kid is the way you feel about it now. $10, well, I don't know. And your own kids are saying, nah, it's only $10, put it down. It's not that way. Pain in the future is anxiety. Pay attention to it. It will always mean the same thing. It means you're in danger, everybody. Sorry, it can be a small danger. It can be a big danger, but you're in danger. It's a red flag. Pay attention to it. Pain in the future is anxiety. Anxiety is a good feeling. It is a good feeling. Do you know when it becomes a bad feeling? When you refuse to feel it, because then you push it underground. Now you're in debt. You have anxiety over this that you won't look at. Gee, maybe the business will fail. You have anxiety over that you won't look at. Gee, is that chest pain, heart disease? No. Is that kid failing at school? Is the neighborhood deteriorating? No, I won't look at it. Now all of a sudden, all this anxiety is willing to be expressed, and then one thing triggers it, and then you go to someone and you say, I'm having panic disorder. What? You're just not facing reality in your life. Now they're going to give you a pill that makes you, oh, I feel better now. The anxiety is still there. The house is about to be graffitiized or whatever that we need. And then your kid's still doing terrible, and the old man's going to croak on you any moment, but you're feeling better. You have anxiety to do something about it. It's your squeaking wheel. Hello? Hello? Wake up. You in the back? Pain in the present is hurt. It hurts now. Ouch. Ooh. What hurts? You can see what hurts. That is what the present is about. The agent that caused the injury and the injury are both in evidence. Ow! Who put that on the sink? That's a hot pot. We don't take it off there with it and leave it on. Jeez! Gee, I'm sorry. You don't need to sit down and have a court case. Someone took a hot pot and put it on the cutting block without telling you that's a hot block. So you're going to want. How do they know? Because they see the pain. When a person sees you in pain, they are perfectly willing to listen to you scream because they know. Have you noticed that? When you complain about something 3 weeks ago, everyone's bored with you. Would you shut up already? You're bothering me. You're hurting me. But I'm sorry. It's okay. I just hope you feel better. I didn't mean to step on I knew you had the operation. I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Right? Aren't we all like that? Right? Walla Walla? Come on. I need feedback. I'm trying to get through to you folks. Help you, you know? So that the purpose of pain is to limit the extent of the injury. Ouch, that hurts. My hand is here, not on the pot. Ouch, that hurts. It has a purpose. You are physiologically wired to survive. And what you have learned by your socialization and the inhibitions that your parenting and your life experiences taught you is to inhibit your wiring so that you suppress your normal response and therefore end up hurt a lot. I would like you to be a little more your animal selves, your creature selves. There's nothing wrong with being spontaneous. Oh, that stinks. When it's the truth, other people have to react to the truth. They can say it's you, but they have to react to the truth. Pain in the past is anger. It can be murderous intention to homicide and to go down to your local Big Mac or whatever it is and kill everybody. I don't use brand names, you know this, because they do it everywhere. Or it can just be being a little bit irritated that the bus is a tiny bit late. Does anyone here take buses? I knew it. Anger is an extraordinarily misunderstood feeling, and nobody misunderstands anger more than psychotherapists. The purpose of anger is to energize the hurt so that the avoidance of the pain in the moment can be made good. Is everybody with that? That is critical. That is the only purpose of anger, is to energize the expression of hurt so that the protection from the danger can be made good. Ouch, don't do that again, would you mind? Okay, we got the lesson loud and clear. You're standing on my foot, gee whiz. The other person hears the anger and immediately backs off, but seeing your hurt already realizes that they've done damage, so there's no need to do any more. Then you have things called crazy people. How dare you raise your voice at me? You hurt me. The person who is upset at you for raising your voice after you've hurt you is not your friend and should not be in your life. Unfortunately, a lot of controlling people are that way. And by the way, you have to always know who you're dealing with controlling people, because one thing a controlling person will tell you is that whoever is at fault, it's not them. You shouldn't have had your foot there. Who puts a foot in the middle of the aisle? Right? And they're right. You're wrong. You're an idiot. And not only that, but they go for immediate confirmation. Did you see where he left a foot? Did you see you saw where they left a foot? Did you see? Go ahead, you can talk. Yes, you saw where they left a foot? No, you saw. Everybody saw. You're dead. It was your foot. It was out there. He stepped on it. You were wrong. And of course, with controlling people, they never say they're sorry. What a controlling person will tell you is they will reiterate all of the reasons why they hurt you. Well, if you had paid attention, if you had sat around front, your foot is in danger there. If you had sat around front, if you'd realized that you're not the only person in the world, you don't sprawl out like that. Of course, you always sprawl out everywhere. You sprawl out in the television room, you sprawl out at dinner, you sprawl out you never learn to keep your feet together. I mean, all of a sudden, you're sitting there with blood dripping from the foot. It's a perfect time to tell you about your bad manners, poor posture, insecurities. I mean, you've got a pathological fracture of the foot. You're going to have to go into CETUS for 2 days to have it sawed up and put together, and you're there still. Would you move your foot? It happened once. I mean, she's ready to do it. Someone's talked to her like that before, obviously. So what you get from a controlling person is not, I'm sorry, I hurt you, I didn't mean it, please excuse me. What you get from them is, I was right to do it, and not only that, if you do it again, I'll be obliged to do it. Since my reasoning is so perfect, if you do it again, I would obviously have to do it. So I'm going to hurt you forever. You got it? Anyone not get it? Walla walla, God bless you. Now, do we understand ourselves? Pain in the future is anxiety. You really understand that now. Pain in the present is hurt. Ouch, it hurts now, this moment. Pain in the past is anger. It hurt. How long ago did it hurt? Well, just now. The problem with anger, and this is the most problematic emotion there is that if you don't express the anger immediately as part of the hurt, it never gets expressed in a way that is satisfying. You want to talk about that? You can never express anger in a satisfying way. Here, the anger problem. Someone hurts you and you get angry. Okay, a day later you're going to call them up and be angry at them. Who wants to be an angry person? To get up and to be angry, so you say everything in your mental notes over the phone and you hang up. You feel better? 5 minutes later, you feel like shit. That's the word, and that's what you feel like. It's all right for me to use it. I'm a doctor lady. Did she buy it? Do you know why you feel bad about it? You feel bad about it because you ended up hurting someone else, and you're a good person, and you don't want to hurt someone else. You don't want to do that. Feelings are very tricky. To go back to a parent who hurt you 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 35 years ago, who's sitting there, with something going in another vein, the air going in, and your father's talking to the resident about, should you pull the plug, should you? You don't go in there and say, you always were terrible to you. I mean, they're going to cart you away and put you in the next bed when she goes. You can't do that. I mean, it's crazy time to go back at the Thanksgiving dinner and say, Uncle Bob touched me when I was... Uncle Bob, by the way, was 3 years older than you, and no one knows exactly what happened, and Uncle Bob hasn't been right for years since he was hit in the head with a baseball. Remember that? He wasn't right before, but no one's going to believe it. So timing is of the essence, and the time to tell is now. Now. The time to express it is now. So whenever anger is expressed, the first thing I have to tell you folks, it's already too late, the wrong volume, and directed at the wrong person. Because when you hold anger in, to hold it in, you have to redirect it at yourself for a while. Because if it's going to go out, it wants to go out. You're not going to express it in time, you have to turn it at you while you're holding it, getting ready. And when you're holding anger in, the direction of anger turned inward gets a different name. You ready? The name for inward turned anger is called guilt. Surprise. Everybody goes, is that right? I didn't know that. So the reason you're feeling guilt is because someone hurt you, but you were too cowardly to express your anger. Instead, you held the anger inside. Now the anger is saying things to you. What is the anger saying to you? It's saying, I'm not good for being an angry person. No one could love a person like me because I'm this angry. I'm bad. I was wrong. I started this. I don't deserve success or love. That's what anger turned against yourself says to you. As a matter of fact, that's all anger says to you. Those statements, I'm bad, I'm not good, I'm not worthy, I'm not loving, I'm not deserving. And that's what guilt is. It's the lack of belief, the undermining of belief by your anger and hatred that is turned against you. Why does that happen? Because your feelings, my friends, are expressed in your body. God, I'm scared. Let's get the hell out of here, right? Your body's, let's go. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Isn't that what happens? When you get angry, you get itsy. Do you know the word itsy? Itsy? Spilkies? Am I talking to the right people? Do you know where I'm coming from? Spilkies. Does anyone here not know what spilkies are? We know who you are now. I'm just playing with you, my friends. Spilkies is a Yiddish word. You have to understand the Jews were born to become the psychiatrists of the world. They stuck us in ghettos. They kept us together. We got on each other's nerves. Such a deal. We got so close to each other, we figured out not only why we did it, but who we did it and what we really want. We were born that way. We're walking around. We have more names in Yiddish for human behavior. What kind of shtick are you doing, right? Shtick means a little bit of what kind of an act are you doing? Yiddish is the language of neurosis. You think I'm kidding. It takes pages to express in any other language what one word in Yiddish does. If you read Freud in the original German, he uses a lot of Yiddish. Don't tell Ernest Jones. Oh, that was an academic joke. I'm sorry. I'm not permitted to make those. He was the translator of Freud. Anyhow, Freud used a lot of Yiddish words because they come from a society where people are on each other's nerves. Spilkies is the mind that walks out of the body and you're always trying to catch up with it. You know, it's like, let's get out of here before the accountant hits line 26. So, oh, God, they're going to find out that I put in the wrong income. I'll never get the loan. I'll never get the loan. You know what? You know why religious Jews are doing this all the time? They got spilkies and they don't even know it. When you hold in anger, you direct towards yourself an energy that should be used by your body. Instead of getting spilkies, which you should get when you're anxious, let's get the hell out of here, you go, a lot of things could go wrong. Let me see what can go wrong. You want to find out what can go wrong? Anyone want to find out? Think about your life for a second, everybody. I know you came here for escapism, but it doesn't work. Think about your life for a second, and I'm going to say, think about what could go wrong. You don't want to go there, right? 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 Because anything can, any moment. There is not a single person in this room who is not a telephone call away from total disaster. Isn't that the truth? One telephone call, and you all know what that damn telephone call is, too. And it's not a pleasant one. It could come from Florida. Real sad, right? Because you know what that's about. It could come from, the folks back there. It could come from your kid. It could come from the police. I knew that stuff would We're all one phone call from disaster. So if your mind is doing all this stuff, it rationalizes and thinks and goes through this sort of thing. Whereas if you really had guts, you'd say, wait a second. Are you taking your medications? Are you going to meetings? Are you going to see someone about that lump? Did they check out that chest pain? What is that funny stuff coming from your room? I can smell it. Are you smoking stuff? You're acting, your eyes are red. In other words, acting on the clues that you already know the answer. If you have to ask the question, you know the answer. So stop asking the question. Because what you are asking for is, tell me it isn't so. Stop asking those questions in your life. You waste time, and you're only setting the other person up to say no, because that's what they're going to tell you. And then you're going to attack them for, and you lied to me. No, they didn't lie to you. They never lied to you. You lied to you because you were going to go in there and say, I'm going to be told no, and I'm going to believe it. So you're the one who lied. So get off your high horse, because that's the only position you have. What we're really talking about is your cowardice and your failure to respond to your anxiety signals in life. That's why your life went bad, folks. You're not stupid. You're not uneducated. It's you didn't pay attention because you were afraid you would have to do something. Well, what would you have to do? Not important what you would have to do. It's what would the results of what you had to do. There are only a couple of results. One, someone could say, I don't care what you say, I don't love you or respect you. And you're afraid to hear that. But you already know that. You already know the answer. So what you have to do is you have to act honestly with the feeling that you get. Not keep it in your head. Hurt usually gets expressed in some way, but it gets suppressed. The problem is with anger. The problem is always with the way in which you deal with anger, because the anger that you hold in holds you. You only have a certain amount of energy. Understand this. This is not in any books, and this isn't in any lectures. This is just in your life. I'm going to confirm what you already know. You only have a certain amount of psychic energy. There's only a certain amount you can take of good or bad. And when you are holding in anger, your energy, a part of it, becomes diverted to keep the anger in check. And the energy that you use to keep the anger in check lowers the amount of energy you have for the rest of your life's work. Because you have a floor, or think of it as a ceiling, anything. But there's a place that you have cemented over. And that cementing is a cementing of energy. You've got to continuously pour energy. Oop, it's coming up. Step it down. Come up. Step it down. I mean, that's what you're doing. You're doing this dance under the surface, and you've got to pay attention to it, and so you're keeping things down. And you have less energy to embrace life. And when people talk about what that means, let me express it to you so you understand this clearly and can start thinking about emotions in a human way. The energy you take away from your life to hold feelings in place decreases the energy for the involvement of life. Are we there? Give me another word for decrease. Depress. Depress. Depression is the depression of available energy available for life. That's all it is. Every depressed person is angry. The more depressed they are, the less anger they show, because they have completely veneered it over. You know all you need to know about this, but let me just show what I mean. When you are pushing anger down, and you're holding it in place, and you're depressed, and you talk to people who are in that situation, this is what they say. Gee, I don't have much of a sex drive anymore. Surprise. Does that surprise you? Why not? Well, a sexual drive requires what? It requires finding a sexual object. It requires wanting the sexual object. It requires willingness to do the courting dance. I don't care whether you're married or not, you just don't say, let's do it. You say, you have to get into it, right? Yeah, right? Or are you that much not? You have to get into it, right? Sex is fun, right? Help me with this. I'm getting really disappointed in this group. Is it okay over here? You don't do it over here. You cross over the hill, you give it up. What is it? Can't be, right? Sex is fun, right? I heard one no. I had a roommate in college who would hear the one no and want to marry the person to convince them otherwise because he had a need to prove to the world that he could make it happy for everyone. That's a disease, by the way. Giving too much is half foolish. You know that. That's a Yiddish expression. I translated it for you, and I got it right under the whole thing. All right. The thing why this is so important is that as you use this energy to push the anger down, you have decreased energy in a neurological way. Something happens to neurological connections. Everyone talks about chemical imbalances as if they were the cause of this. They're not. They're the result of it. If you do psychotherapy on someone who has a so-called chemical imbalance, the chemical imbalance clears up. It does. It's not that you have a biological mechanism that's gone awry. You have a psychological mechanism of dealing with reality that's faulty, that causes you to do this. All right? I want you to get this, because this is the most important part of all this. So the important thing is to know that when you have decreased the amount of energy in your life by suppressing anger, there's less taste, because somehow or other you're blocking, and food doesn't taste as good. Any of you ever had hepatitis? Food tastes terrible. Any of you ever had depression? Food doesn't taste good. Because the relish that gives appetite and gustatory pleasure is a function of the energy you have to invest in it. Oh, it's the white asparagus season with truffles. Oh, I can hardly wait with the new Beaujolais. Ooh, that's joie de vivre. White truffles. Oh, I don't feel like it today. Do you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So this is why it's so critical to understand where we're about to go, because we're about to go into a very deep place. The reason that you suppress the anger is that you have a lousy or disturbed or non-functioning way of dealing with the hurt that caused that anger. Because if mental health is dealing with the hurt, by telling the person who hurt you that they hurt you when they hurt you, one of those three things is wrong. You're not telling the person you're complaining to a friend. You're telling the person not that they hurt you, but you're telling them about, gee, how I got killed in the stock market yesterday. Or you're not telling them at the right time. You're telling them too late, so then you're bombarding them with the anger. Let me tell you about anger that gets stored up. Anger gets stored up in a condition which has never been described anatomically, but what I call the condition emotional dead. It's a nice term. I like it. And it's because it's really descriptive. Anyone ever own a mercury thermometer? Anyone have kids, and you shake it down, with the wrist thing. You can only use them up to age 65 because then the arthritis keeps you from doing it. You go, Maya, would you come in here and shake this down, right? There's something wrong with those stupid things. And then when you try to do it and you lose the grip, smash on the floor. And there you are with the 3x5 card on your knees, picking up all the mercury so the cat doesn't get it and drop dead, because you've heard of mercury poisoning, though you don't know how it works, but you don't want to be responsible, right? Are we all there? It's craziness. A life of isolation. You're bonded to people not by the strength and the wonderful things and your talent. You're bonded by people by saying, gee, you do that too? Oh, I didn't know that. That's great. I'm not so crazy. So there you are, and you get a little ball of mercury in the card, and you bump it into another little ball of mercury. Now you got a bigger ball of mercury, right? How does that happen? Surface tension, they can explain it in school. Boom, another one, another boom, 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 boom. And now you have this big ball of mercury. Now you get it in the card, and you try to get over to the wastebasket, but if you're smart, you brought the wastebasket over first, so you wouldn't have to, because it goes right off, and then you got to start all over again. And if you're on linoleum, it's all over the place. Don't walk in here, there's mercury. Anger is like mercury. You get a little piece of anger over a hurt that you experienced today, and instead of expressing it, you push it down. Okay, I'm a perfectly healthy guy. I can stifle it. Then a little other thing happens, and I push it down. So what has happened? It now joins forces with the other ones. After a while, there's a big ball of mercury in me. Everybody got that? And all of a sudden, it's too big to handle. It's a weight. I'm an angry person, and all it takes to get me going is anything that'll trigger a little anger. Give me one justifiable reason for expressing my anger, and I am cocked and primed and ready to go. Does anyone want to try me here? And that's the society you live in. People who are filled up with anger who don't know how to deal with it. When I said before that psychotherapists don't know how to deal with anger, I'm telling you the truth. Because the expression of anger only makes you sicker. If you take a depressed person and get them to express anger, do you know what you do? You cause them not to release, but you cause them to grab onto what remains of their defensive energy and push it back. And they become more depressed. Especially if you arm them to say, you go back and you tell your sister what you thought of her when she came home to your husband.
And you do that, and she doesn't remember because she had 3 scotches in her that night, and it was 14 years ago, and what are you talking about? Because she already divorced her husband, now she's got someone she loves, she can't even think of ever having loved anyone else, and besides, you were mistaken, because it was your husband who came on to her and lied about it, and she pushed him away, and now you're being confronted and with a truth you can't handle, and it all gets terrible. It gets terrible because now you're trammeled up again. Oh, maybe I was mistaken. Maybe he is this. Do we all there together? Okay. So that the expression of anger is always, always a delicate and dangerous thing. Not that you shouldn't recognize that you're angry, but to recognize anger as a feeling without dynamics is silly. In fact, downright stupid. You're angry because someone hurt you. So what you do is you must always justify the anger with hurt. This is the hurt. And when you tell someone that you're angry at them, you don't tell them that you're angry at them by expressing anger. You tell them that they hurt you. That's what you tell them. You hurt me when you did this. That's a problem. Because what you might find out is the other person denies it. Okay, you know where you are then. Or 2, they can say, so what? The person who doesn't care whether they hurt you doesn't love you. And that's why you're afraid to express your hurt, and that's what gives you that lag time. You're afraid the person doesn't respect you, doesn't love you, doesn't think anything of you, and you're afraid to test that. Well, it just so happens that I have some techniques that I'm going to show you in the next hour. And those techniques are going to give you control over that lag phase. They're going to put you, for the first time in your life, in absolute control of the moment, so that you don't walk around like a person out of control, so that you don't walk around thinking someone is going to have something over you. I'm going to show you a way which will make you in charge of your life. You're not in charge of your whole life. You're only in charge of this moment. I'm going to show you how to be in charge of the moment. I'm going to show you how to deal with aggressive people. I'm going to show you something that will blow your mind away. It took me 25 years to develop, and it's so easy to understand that once you get it, you got it. We're going to have questions in a bit, but I want to bring some things together for you. Nobody likes being put off balance. But unfortunately, we spend our lives trying to figure out what we should have said, what we could have said, and how much we could have gotten away with. And it's a struggle. And the struggle of our lives is basically this. The emotional struggle of our lives is to stay out of emotional debt, to have no anger on board, so that we're free to interact with the world as a person, not as a collection of unresolved problems. You all know people like that. And sometimes when you're under a lot of stress, you're like that too, and that's when you really hate yourself, when you're leaking all over the place. Isn't that the word, leaking? You're talking to someone, and before what started off as an ordinary conversation, all of a sudden, the other person registers a little bit of irritation that you're monopolizing or you're doing something obnoxious, and then they say something, and now you're angry at them for being the way everyone else in your life is, and you wonder why everyone in your life is the way they are. It's because you create that. So what we struggle for is to stay out of emotional debt. But you know, it's a strange thing, because if you really study this, and I really have studied this, all of us are turning the other cheek continuously to a lot of things that are bothersome to us, that cause us irritation. We suffer the indignity of the paper boy who has never learned to aim the thing, you know? Or you couldn't go the rest of the walk, you know. He's doing it from the back of a truck now, and they own 20 routes. But the waiter who doesn't pay attention, the bus driver who slams the door in your face because he's been trained just to test how far you're coming in, gotcha. The insolent cabbie. Shakespeare wrote about this stuff. The proud man's contumely, he put it. People who are arrogant, people who are treating you in ways that make you feel inferior. And people have a way of doing that because there was a time when everyone made you feel inferior. But there are 1,000 injuries that are happening to you constantly that have a way of taking it out of you. Well, the 1,000 little injuries don't take it out of you. What takes it out of you is that some serious injuries have been pushed down by you and have created a hole in which you are placing those smaller injuries, and it just grows. Growing old is primarily the process by which you have accumulated so much emotional debt in your life that your energy is not so much depressing you, but it's just containing all of these little hurts, the 1,000 little hurts, the little glances that you get from people who are disapproving, the little strains at work, things that aren't strong enough to stand up against. I remember once, I had the best example of this. I was at Channel 4 in Boston, and they were redoing the studio, so they didn't have a green room. So I was sitting out there in the waiting room with everybody else. I'm a pretty congenial fellow. It doesn't disturb me. And as I was out there, they're trying to get an audience. This is one of those shows with your local host, Sidney Morris. Let's hear it. Well, Sidney Morris, you know, a name that'll appear and disappear. And so they have to get people to fill the audience. So at this particular day, they had some people from the rapidly decreasing sunset rehabilitation center, something like that. Catch us now before we're gone. And there were two cars that had just pulled up in front. And you knew the people. They were, among the 6 ladies, there were 4 who had blue hair. I don't know why they do that. And the men all looked like they were playing golf. And none of them had picked up a golf club in 100 years. Stripes and lime colors, and I mean, you know what I'm saying. And everyone in those clothes that are designed to protect your body ever from being copyable by an artist. What is that? It's a shape. They got out of the car, and the people in the second car all started to scream and yell at the people in the first car and followed them in. You knew that was a yellow light. Why didn't you slow down? You knew we didn't know the way. You knew we were falling. Listen to him. He's telling the truth. Did you see the light? He saw the light. And the people in the first car, it was green. It was not yellow. And they were carrying on. They were carrying on like there had been a spill of radioactive waste. You made us drive 40 miles an hour through a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I could have been arrested and lost my license. You know how from the cataracts they don't want you to drive. And I sat there looking at that with, you know, it's okay to laugh if you feel the pain. And I always see both sides at once. And what hit me was the poignancy of these people. Their whole life has been pressing down their feelings so much that anything that gave them an opportunity to express it in a group gave them, reaffirmed their rightness in expressing it. You can just see look what he's doing. He's going through the yellow light. He knows we're going to be stuck here at the red. I knew he was that guy. And they had all these unconfirmed suspicions, which all of them agreeing with each other because they're the ones in the other car. By the time they got there, they're ready to hire hitmen to take care of these other people. We'll never come with you again. And emotional debt is your enemy. And the key is learning to say what you feel when you feel it in the condition and the situation that occurred. Let's talk about the key thing. I have thought about this for a long time. You could say when someone hurts you, you hurt my feelings, except with the lag phase, you don't remember. You can't get in there and say you hurt my feelings. And it sounds like a heavy thing. And there are people in your life that if you said you hurt my feelings to, they would take it as an affront. You know what I mean? You know, really controlled, rigid people, you say, you hurt my feelings. And, what are you talking about? Like it's like you're injuring them. Yes? Walla walla? I mean, come on. This is the stuff of life right now. And this is why we bleed, because we're not given the openness to deal with another person. You know, the people who are really easy to deal with, if someone says, Jesus, that was really terrible what you did. And you say, it was? Yes, and so on. Gee, I'm sorry. It's a new day. You want to go for lunch? Sure. And you can do that because what you want is a place where you can be free. Difference between a happy home and an unhappy home. This will bring it home to you. The same amount of crap happens in both places. In a happy home, you are free to say that you're having pain and the other person listens. In an unhappy home, you say, don't you dare raise your voice to me. That's the first line of defense you get back. You're not allowed to be you. I mean, it's, to me, I am from the and you're nothing, and I am from the It's terrible. You're not permitted to be a person. So it builds up and up and up, and the next thing that develops is more and more anger turns into hatred. You have fantasies because you're not allowed to deal with it, and what are the fantasies that a kid has? What are the fantasies that a kid has? Think of it. Bang, bang, you're dead. We say that all the time. Okay, bang, bang, you're dead. I'm going to kill you. You hear that, right? You hear that, and you hear parents say, don't you ever say whack that to me. Oh, that's going to make the kid love you more, huh? But that's what happens. And the reason kids get into trouble and the reason lives get screwed up is because the kid can't handle the internalized anger because they don't develop a conscience that's functional till they're about 7. So what they do is they develop a pattern of decreasing the hurt, the self-hurt, the anger directed towards self. How do you decrease the anger directed towards self? You get punished. It's like being forgiven. It's like confession. Do you do that? Bam, bam, bam. I feel better now. So what the kid ends up doing is self-destructive things. They don't do well in school. They can't focus. They can't listen. They can't interact with other children. They get they come back with stories. Nobody likes me. Of course nobody likes you. You monopolize the conversation. You push other people around with your aggressive behavior. You see it happen and you can't even admit it to yourself. And the reason they're doing it is because they're not free to be really expressive at home. Having a parent who is too understanding, by the way, is also being controlled. Well, you know what I mean? How some people can talk a kid out of his rightful hurt? You know? You know that. Okay, now let's get to what I really want to get to, because this is so important. You can't say you hurt me to some people. It's just too wretched a thing to be able to say. So here you are, imagine yourself at a party, okay? A lot of social inhibition for expressing yourself, right? And someone says something that hurts your feelings. Perfect situation in which you're not going to respond, because you're going to swallow that because you don't want to make a scene. You don't want to make a scene. And maybe the person is related to the family in such a way that you need their good impression of you because they are maybe the employer, or maybe you need to do business with them, or maybe they're the wife of the person. But you just don't want to make waves. So a person says something that really, really is awful, okay? They say something like, gosh, you're getting large these days. You know, come on, 2 bourbons and your mind in 3 places, and in your mind it says stupid things. So what are you going to say? You're going to argue with them that maybe you should go down to La Costa for a week? You don't do that. Don't dignify them by that. This is what you do. Someone says something that hurts your feelings like that. Your response is as follows. Do not write notes. Let this in, everybody, okay? Your response is, excuse me, I didn't hear what you just said. Can you please repeat that? Think about the wisdom intended upon those words. Think about what I just said. It took me 25 years to write that line, because I wanted to make a line that was totally innocent and non-offensive, because it's not a response to the content. What you are doing is you are playing chess. Somebody has trashed you. Don't go on attack. No, sir. In chess, the object of the game is to control the 4 center squares of the board. That's what you do. You control the 4 center squares of the board, and you own the game. The hell with the rest. You got the 4 center squares, mate and 10. You got it. What you want to do is you don't want to lose your cool. You don't want to be dragged in, and you don't want it to last another second longer than it has to, and you don't want to be miserable about it, and you don't want to have a lowered self-esteem about it, or you don't want to go back to the car and say, I did it again, I let them trample all over me. You don't want to do any of that. So what you do is you say, excuse me, I didn't hear what you just said. Could you please repeat that? Other person. They go, oh my God, I knew I shouldn't have had too much. Look what came out of my mouth. Look what I just said. I can't believe I said a thing like this. I've been told to keep my mouth shut in a situation like that. I say the first thing that comes into my mouth, and it's out of my mouth. Oh my God, did she hear me? Did he not hear me? See, you don't know that 95% of the insults you get aren't intended. It's people in their stupid foxhole opening up what's inside them. She didn't mean to say, you're losing anyway. She's saying, God, I really got to lose some weight. Look at me. I walk by the mirror, and she looks at you, and the conversation continues. It has nothing to do with you. And you caught them because you happen to be the car in front that went through the yellow light. Got it? Got it? Got it? Walla walla? You've got to understand this. It's ordinary, and you're taking it personally. The minute it becomes personally is when you internalize the hurt and let it become anger and walk around saying, see, people are always, I should have lost weight. Look at this. This is ridiculous. They're fitting. I mean, you're going to, the person said something true about you. Hey, you're wearing a T-shirt. Don't you know any better? What? Do you know what I'm saying? Of course you're wearing a T-shirt, but why would I be saying a thing like that? I mean, no one should notice you. You're invisible. The only reason someone notices you is they've got a burr in their saddle. Why would anyone notice you? Who would notice you? No one would notice you. Isn't that great? The only one who notices you is someone who's nuts. Except that I'm saving you a lot of problems here. The people who are going to pick you out have got something wrong with them, and it's leaking all over you. So if you're going to take arms with them, you're going to get a terrible fight because they're going to deny that they did it and go to war with you because they don't want to admit they're leaking. What you do is you let them know that they leaked. Excuse me, I didn't hear what you just said. Can you please repeat that? And they go, got away with it. What I meant to say is, you wear your clothes real well. Thank you. I got this at Nordstrom's. Do you like it? It's really nice. It was on sale, by the way, everyone. And you carry, and the other person goes, they heard me. That person heard me. I know they heard me. I said it real clear. But you know, you don't hear things that are in your blind spot. You hear me say things to people all the time of the year that are as clear as a bell, like, so you're angry at your mother. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? So you're angry at your mother. Did you say I was angry at my mother? Let me think. Yes, I did. Am I angry at my mother? And when it's in your blind spot, you don't hear it. So here's a person who doesn't want to hear the reason they attacked you. So you don't need to tie them up. They're already tied up. What you do is you let them go against their own tether. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Can you please repeat that? They go, ding, I shouldn't have said that, ding, I shouldn't have said that, ding, I shouldn't have said that, ding, I want to die, ding, I want to get out of here, ding. You got it? Walla walla. You better know that. Because that's worth why you're here. That's the only reason you're here is to get that. That's going to save you the rest of your life. It is going to, because the truth is, that's how you do it. You want to argue with people? That means you're crazy. It means if you want to argue with people, it means you have anger from old hurt that isn't getting out. That's a measurement of your craziness. That's what it is. Your anger is the measurement of your craziness. So you're waiting for the next person who insults you, who you can prove that they're an asshole and attack them. You think you're fair game and you're going to do it. Congratulations, you're crazy. That's the definition. Why should you spend your life diverted off your course, unless you don't have a course and want to be diverted to keep you from facing yourself and to determine that you don't have any meaning here in life? Why would you do a thing like that? Unless you're afraid of looking at yourself and seeing whether or not you have talent. Why would you do a thing like that? Maybe you're afraid you don't have a gift. Why would you do a thing like that? Maybe you're afraid of working hard and doing for yourself what you should be doing in your life. I don't know. Excuse me, I didn't hear what you just said. Can you repeat that? And you say it friendly. Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said. Can you please repeat that? And the other person goes, oh, shit. And you are in control of the four squares. Some rules. Don't help them remember. Why? Why should you? They're remembering plenty. Don't help them. They know. And if they can't remember, you go. Then they say, I said, boy, you've put on a lot of weight. Your response is not to the comment, because the comment's always crazy. If they repeat what they say, this is what you say. Now, you've got to understand, there's a lot of thinking in this. These are not ordinary sentences. All right? And you have to memorize them and put them on cards and carry in the party. This is what you say. You ready? I'm sorry. I don't understand what that means. Please explain that. Yes, you want them to explain their obnoxiousness because they've leaked out of their hole. Now let them get out of it. You know they're crazy. What you're inviting them to do is to display. You're being perfectly calm. Excuse me, I don't understand that. Can you explain that? And all of a sudden, all around you, people will look and you're just, you don't understand. Well, what does that mean? And what is the purpose of saying that? I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand, folks. That's what you say. I don't understand. Get them to explain. By that point, they're so inhibited, and you're so much in control of the thing that you're on to other subjects. And the key thing, and this is what you've done, you've taken the moment now, and you have expanded it into an event without being the attacker or aggressor. They have displayed themselves significantly enough to be branded. Okay? They said something obnoxious. Other people saw it. You did not respond. You did not feed into it. Anything you give to feed into that moment will be distorted and set up by them when they report it as the reason why they said it in the first place. Okay? I'm telling you wise things, friends. Memorize this stuff. So instead of giving them something, you just wanted to understand. What? You didn't hear it? Ask them to repeat it. They said it. You didn't understand it. Please explain it. So they'll accuse you of being a thick-headed person. But you'll know. You'll know the discomfort that they went through, which they're entitled to do because it's a learning experience. You're being a therapist to them. You're showing them that they're, let us use the word, all right? You're showing them that they are, do I dare use it? They're an asshole. Do you know what an asshole is? Do you know it's the only word that we all agree on the meaning completely? I mean, when you say to someone, what an asshole, the other person says, you're right. And you don't need to sit around and debate the subject. It's something that is absolutely crystal clear. Someone goes, what an asshole. And you're saying, so-and-so, you're right. Definition of an asshole. Tell me if you disagree. Come on, grow up. Don't be an asshole. An asshole is a person who doesn't care about other people's feelings. Anyone disagree with that? Isn't that when you call someone an asshole? Gee, your mother and father are dead. That means you're an orphan now. Very intelligent, Herbie. Are we clear on this? Okay. That's how you keep the moment now alive. Because if you're hurt at the party and the person says that, and you meet them in the hamburger hamlet in 3 weeks, and you're sitting down with some friends, and they bring this person over, and you didn't know, and you're sitting there with an uncomfortable feeling in your stomach. Why should you have an uncomfortable feeling? Because the other person is a total jerk. Why should you let it get this way? You're going to sit there and say, you remember at the party, do you remember the party 3 weeks ago, the party? You remember when you said, the other person's going to give you a look. First of all, they've already blocked it because it's a thing they don't want to admit they would say. They leaked, right? When you leak, and you leak all the time, you say, not only did I stop leaking, but I stopped remembering that I leak, right? That's what we do. So that you say, hey, what party? I don't think I went to that party. You ready? You got a chore ahead of you. You want to go through that in life? And you say, well, you hurt me then, and now it's coming out, the anger that's been building up, all the mercury, remember, looking for and you didn't. And the other person's saying like this and saying, boy, are you out of control. And you will be. You want to go through that? You want to be a crazy? Do that. Instead, the other person should see you and you go, hi, Marsha, come on down, we got a chair for you. And Marsha says, okay, because Marsha's a big mouth and an asshole to boot. And you're being generous. Would you like a rice pudding, Marsha, right in your lap? Would you like, and Marsha picks up the tab and you say, oh, you don't need to do that. As a matter of fact, I'll pick up your tab. And you're coming from generosity, and you didn't even hear the comment she's apologizing for, remember? Are we together? Now, I got to talk to you. You're going to have to put that hand in your lap, because I'll be there later. Listen to me. I'm trying to save you a lot of pain in life, you know? So I channel Jackie Mason now and then. I can't help it. But what I'm trying to tell you is the most important stuff that you're ever going to know, because this is the stuff that ages you. This is the stuff, do you know why you overeat, why you smoke, and why you drink? Do you know why you gamble? Do you know why you get in trouble? Do you know why you blow up at people? It's because of this. Because you got so much anger that it seeks to express itself in a compulsive way. Compulsion is nothing more than the mind's attempt to deal symbolically with the anger. So if you could deal with it at source, you'd feel so much better. You would be one more sane driver on the road that's not going to run me over. I'm doing this for my own benefit. Don't think I'm doing it just for you. I mean, we got to make it a sane world, and it starts with you, and it starts with being honest. This is what being honest is about. Being honest isn't about being so honest. The strength of honesty is telling the truth. But the weakness is not only lying, it's telling too much truth. If someone said something to me at a party, I have the power. I have the insight. That laser insight that brought me to fame and fortune, I can lay you out like a piece of dissected liver, I can see your past, your present, and your future all at once. It's a gift. I mean, I can. You want me to do that to someone at a party? I would be what? I would never be invited anywhere. I would be an asshole. And I can be an asshole enough already, enough. What do I want to be more of that for? So telling the truth is not telling all the truth. You don't debate the white lie issue. Instead, you tell the truth, which is to keep you in a place of, the word is homeostasis, balance with your emotions, so you're not stirring up stuff. Excuse me, I didn't hear what you said. Could you please repeat that? Oh, I didn't understand what you meant by that. Oh, you're crazy. I don't have to deal with it. It's nothing personal, right? So I move on. The tableau changes. It's like one of those rides at Disneyland. Oh, now it's dinosaurs. Now it's this. Now it's this crazy person. Now it's that. I'm not attached to it. Why do I need to be attached to you? You're living in your own crazy world. The only reason I will join you in your crazy world is if we have a mutual craziness in common to work out. Unfortunately, this has all come too late, right? Well, you've been hurt before. And there are other injuries that you're carrying around with you. What do you do with the old injuries from the past, my friends? I have a method. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, as you know. Most of the injuries that are difficult to resolve come in situations where you're inhibited from the expression of the truth. Like work. Because work is not a feeling relationship. Feelings don't belong in work. The reason women have difficulty in working situations and getting to the top is not because work is unfair, but women feel. And they're not used to suppressing their feelings. But in a man's environment, you don't talk about, oh, I should have gotten the sale. I'm so disappointed. Get out of here. Fire that sucker. Because no one wants feelings, because feelings take up time. Time is money, and money is important. That's what it's about. No one ever told you these stories. But if you want to succeed in business, it can't be about feelings. It has to be about honesty, fairness, mutuality, but you cannot take it personally. Well, we're going to have to cut your segment of the job out over there. You're going to have to be shifted over there. Why? It's not a plot. It's not profitable. That's the plot. The plot is it's not profitable. You happen to be in that sector. You have to be relocated. Do you want it or don't you want it? stop making it. But I've worked there for years. Please. It has nothing to do with whether you've worked there for years. It isn't working anymore. The company has to survive. And that's the basis on which business operates. Therefore, people are being hurt all the time. Do you know why there are so many widows? Because there are so many men in business. It kills us because we suppress our feelings. We build up clots in our arteries. We're doing that anyhow because of our hormonal imbalance that we get because we're men. But we also develop that other little thing. It's called constricting the blood vessels. And that's why we croak. Because we narrow our lumens, that's centers of blood flow, and then we get tense and we don't know what to do with it. So we're either going to erode the lining of our stomach and get ulcers. We'll do that. That's fun. We'll get we'll get a few other diseases like cardiovascular things from blood pressure. Have a nice little stroke. I could have had one there. I shouldn't do this. I'm already getting into the danger zone myself. I should never do that. I should just act it and say, it's time for that, but I actually did it, and I have to rethink that. That was a wrong move. See, I'm being serious and honest with you. You can't do too much of that stuff. So when we get into this realm of business and we're suppressing feelings, physiologically, we're paying a price for it. There's a cure. Let's imagine someone has hurt you, and you are not able to tell them that they hurt you. You're really pissed at this person. Would you all think of someone? Got it? Didn't take long, did it? Did it? Right there. You're right there. You're right. Everyone's going, yeah, I got it, right? All right. First piece of advice. You got that name clear in your head, everybody? I want to see heads move now. Sorry, I just had to do that once in my life. I always wanted to be a rabbi. We're not explaining that, but there's we'll just go on. Oh, God. I amuse myself. You know how it is. Sometimes you do things for you. I'm writing a novel now, and sometimes, just for the hell of it, I'll make a character do something absolutely crazy. I'll just erase it. You got that character in your mind? This is what I want you to do. Imagine taking a piece of paper. You write the person's name on the paper. You're at work or in that situation where you're inhibited from expressing the anger, right? You write the person's name on the paper. Front, first and second name. You got this? You're all clear about this? You fold the piece of paper. You go into the lab. You go into a stall. You close the door. You take the piece of paper. You rip the piece of paper into as many pieces as you can, and you throw it into the toilet. And you use the toilet. What's going on in here? Why this guy's still laughing over there? People say, why are you all laughing? Why are you all laughing? Do you know why you're laughing? You're experiencing relief. Isn't that right? Let me tell you how psychotherapy works. Your mind is a symbolic animal. Wrong words, but you know what I mean. Your words are symbolic. They don't mean anything. Words don't mean anything. We make them mean anything by associating them with meaning. It's our ability to associate that gives us the capacity to think the way we do. That's what it is. The mind of humans is an associative mind. We can associate. A blind person, when they get sight, is shown an orange, and they say, that's an orange. They take a look at it and say, well, I've never seen that before. And they hand them the orange, and they go, oh, it's an orange. Because they made a touch to sound association. Now when they see it and they have vision, they have to make a sight to sound association. We have an associative mind. We associate things to words. It's our capacity. So an event happens. We see a trauma. We feel the loss. We repress it. We grow up. And in therapy, you sit with a therapist. He says, remember that time now. You were alone in the bedroom. Now what happened next? Tell me what you saw. Where did you feel it? What did you do? You wanted to scream, but you didn't scream. Why didn't you scream? What was there? Name it. Bring it out. Now we're feeling it. It hurts. Oh, God. How did that work? The memory was attached to words, symbols, was attached to pictures, And now we go back and we see those pictures like the orange and we give them names. We bring them out and said, oh God, I was molested, I was hurt, I was beaten, whatever it was. Now I know what it is. Now I mourn it anew and I can process it and let go. So your mind works in symbols. Now this is what I want you to do. This is a prescription. I just want you to do it. I just want you to do this. I am going to give you a very powerful addition to your psychotherapeutic self-help system that's going to work better than anything that has ever happened to you if you do it. I will refund the cost of today to anybody who does not benefit from this in a year. And by then I'll be out of town, but it's okay. But I will. I mean, what I'm about to give you is something so powerful and so amazing that if you do it, I know it will work. Are you ready? Do this 12 times in a row. The next time you have somebody who hurts your feelings in a terrible way that you cannot naturally express and doing any of those fancy things like, excuse me, I didn't hear what you say, but it's definitely not going to work because it's the president of the company, or it's somebody who's mentally defective, or it's someone who is in a coma, or someone horrible, something horrible. It's a totally inhibitory situation. The next 12 of those in a row, write their name on a piece of paper, go into the bathroom, rip it up, and use the bathroom. 12 times in a row. That's all I ask of you. And you know what will happen? The 13th time, you'll do it in your mind automatically. You won't need to do it, and you'll have the instant relief and distance from it, and you will be in another psychological place. You may do it on the second time, but I want to set the seed in there for your life. Do it 12 times in a row, and other people will wonder, gee, you never seem to be bothered about when people act like jerks. Excuse me? Of course not. It doesn't have to do with me. It's just the way they are. Flush. I'm glad you're laughing because I want you to be able to laugh through the crap of life. How to overcome the stress of difficult times. That's what this is about. I want these mechanisms built in you, and these are the ways to do it. And they will work. They will work all the time because you will suddenly find that you have an internal language that deals with the world in a way that makes your life happier. Doesn't this make sense? Is it very difficult to understand? It took a lot of theoretical thinking to come to this place, to invent the feeling cycle, and to go through how feelings work, and to figure out the ways of doing it. But if it's going to work in very simple things, and your mind tells you right away, of course, this is obvious. Because the real good ideas are obvious. Oh, that's an apple. It falls down. There must be a thing called gravity. Could have had a V8. Didn't figure it out before that moment. All right. So we're ready to take some questions about these issues that people don't understand and would like to make clearer. And if you would like to ask questions, just so that it's all on... Ooh, that was lighter than I thought it would be. A little inhibiting. Take the thing and stick it over here. What a funny stand. Hi, George. You're trying to help me out? A little late, aren't you, George? Okay. Anyone want to come on down? Well, come on down. Ask questions. You got to get over to the microphone. Here they come running. But no more than 3 people in front of the microphone because I get inhibited by numbers, and the reserved seats is where you sit. Yes?
Okay. Supposing we get what we learned today, and from now on we could cope in a healthy fashion. But what about a lot of our hurt and anger and faulty coping mechanisms come from when we were young? And you've already told us that we could recall the person, do the little scenario, I'm sure it would work. But what if you can't recall why you act how you do? Or what if you can't recall the people to the specific incident that hurt you? How are you going to release that?
The main thing you need to understand is if you act truthfully in the moment by acting in these ways, the moment will be clearer and you will not be adding to the pile of emotional debt. 2, as you deal with a totally innocent offense, someone being a jerk, cleaned it up, someone being a jerk towards you, and you now manifest control over them, you will hear yourself wishing to add to that interface other stuff to make up for it. It's the other stuff that you want to add that is your problem. Keep notes of that. I suggest keeping a notebook and say, gee, I said, I didn't hear what you had said to me, can you please repeat it? And I felt like punishing them. Who do I want to punish? Or ask the question. See, your mind will give you the answers if you allow your mind to have the space. But when you have old business and you're continuously letting it out, you create in the new space around you the old problems in disguise and you cannot sort it out. So what you first have to say is, this is my problem. What happened to me was wrong. But the way I reacted to it is the problem. Because another person wouldn't have reacted to the hurt in that way. So what you're trying to find out is, what I'm doing is I'm seeking vengeance. The object of going back and speaking to those people, by the way, is not to punish them, because you can never punish them. All right, first thing, you're never going to get even. The only way you get even is to live a happy life. Because if they are complete assholes, then their punishment is that they have to live out their life as them. Think of the person who most hurt you in your life, everybody.
That I'm going to count to 3, and I'm going to snap my fingers, and on the count of 3, you're going to turn into that person with your life expectancy and live out the rest of your life as that person. How fast would you get to me to get me to stop this? 1. Are you going to be that person in a second? 2. For $5 million, will you do it? For $100 million, you can have anything. You can buy Suriname, wherever that is. You can print your own stamps with your picture on it. $100 million. Are you ready? Anyone ready for $250 million? We'll throw in Ivana Trump in her teeth. I don't know. They all have teeth when they're in that money state. In other words, there's nothing in the world you would accept to be that person. All right. In other words, in your way of thinking, they're already being punished in the worst way possible by being forced to live out their life. What else would you want to do to them? Why don't you just accept it and realize that they're already being punished in the worst way you can imagine? Your job is to forgive them. Your job is to forgive them. Would you like that in stereo? Your job is to forgive them. Does that work, George? Probably not. I never tried it before. Now, for most of you, that comes as an unpalatable suggestion. Forgive the person who hurt me? I'd rather die, and you will die. Because you sure as hell aren't going to be living a happy life. Your pain is measured by the people you won't forgive. Do you know why you're having a problem with this? Let me explain. You've got to understand this. This is the center of the world for some of you. Your pain in your life is not from what the other person did to you already. Your pain is that you have had to keep the hurt alive to justify being angry. Think about that. The other person hurt you once, but in your refusal to let go of the hurt, you hurt yourself all the time and say to the world, look what they did to me. Look at these wounds. I could have been a contender. I could have been something. But oh no, my parents gave the money to go to college to my brother. Well, so what? So they didn't give it to you? So you should have put yourself through school yourself. Give me a break. You believe in yourself that much? Do it. So they were jerks? They were jerks. So you didn't get your inheritance? Too bad. But if you're going to live your life as living proof of the damage that was done to you, you have no life. And no one cares. That's the whole thing. Nobody cares because we're trying to get through. I received from my father, as my sole inheritance on his death, a 1938 Gruen watch. He paid less than $20 for it in 1938. It works, but it doesn't match it. My wife wears it. That was my sole inheritance. My sister got everything. God bless her. Do you know what I care? Not one bit. Not one bit. It had nothing to do with it. It had nothing to do with anything. It doesn't make any difference. And I never held it. I mean, I knew exactly what he had in his mind. Well, Nancy would need it, but David's always going to be okay. Fine. Also, a picture of my mother that I happen to like he gave to her. What I'm telling you is it doesn't make any difference. But how you see it only makes a difference if I was going to say, see proof of what an asshole my father was. He left me that. I didn't get along with my dad. He didn't understand me. It's true. When I had published The Making of a Psychiatrist, I was nominated for the Pulitzer, the National Book Award in Biography, and it was the Book of the Month Club main selection. It was printed all over the world. At 33 years old, I was like an international star in psychiatry. I threw a big party. in a Chinese restaurant, because I'm Jewish. What else do you throw it at? And, well, why should I go? And they bring their own napkins. One of those circular things you throw. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I didn't want to say such a fancy place. No, it's the Chinese restaurant we always go to. You can have the pineapple dipped in the thing, and they fry it in the end, and stuff yourself and throw up on the sidewalk like we always do. It's home, you know. Shh, relax. So, my father turns to my wife of record. Actually, we're very good friends. We just never should have married. We've been good friends all the time. We talk every week about everything. And he turns to my wife and he says to her, he said, I'm arguably a very famous psychiatrist at that moment in my life, at 33. He says to my wife, he says, do you think David will ever go back into real medicine? Now, do you know what my immediate reaction was? I laughed. It could have been, what do you have to do? The answer was, I hadn't been doing anything for him since I was 15 years old. I realized it then. I gave up. I was performing in public, and I never allowed my father to come to my concerts because he would always say something hurtful and stupid. So instead of putting myself through it, I never told him when I was performing, or that I did. It was not his business. I had friends who really understood about music. So when I would perform an unaccompanied suite for cello by Bach on the clarinet, which I can assure you was very difficult, and do it flawlessly and musically, and I didn't have to deal with, I like it better on the cello. Why would you transpose a thing like that for the... I didn't have to deal with that in my life. I didn't set myself up for those hurts. Besides, he heard me practicing or didn't hear me practicing. It was none of my business. It was business between me and Johann Sebastian Bach, and I kept it that way. Got it? I learned early, fortunately, so I was able to love my father because I didn't expect him to be what he could never be. Although I did say, you know, Dad, I think you're the one who should have become an internist. You really would have loved it. And then he turned to me and said, what do you mean? In my day, when the Jewish boys couldn't get into medical school. I said, Dad, excuse me. All my professors are your age, and they're all Jewish. How did that happen? Ooh-huh. In order to have a happy life, you have to accept people as they are. You don't choose your family. And you probably wouldn't have if you had the choice. But you got them, and they're there, and they're the ones who say things like, I don't like him, but I love him, which is total bullshit. You can't love someone you don't like. How can you? I like him, but I don't love him. No, you don't love him either, all right? Let's settle that. I mean, come on, you don't. You tolerate it, and you pray for a day when things will be better. But right now, you don't like him, and you don't love him. Are we all happy on that? No, you're not happy on that. But we all know it's the truth, even though you don't want it to be the truth. You don't like them, and you don't love them. Because the reason you love someone is because you like them. Because the liking allows you to get close enough to love. Please, if you don't like, there's no room to love. And you don't love people when you're angry at them either. Because the anger is a powerful feeling, and it shuts out love, which is a weak feeling. Yes, you know I'll always love you, but I'm angry right now, and I'm going to be angry for the next 10 years. So you're not going to love me for 10 years, I'll see you later. You call me when the decade is over, we'll make an arrangement. These are critical points because your whole life depends upon them. Forgiving is everything in life. Forgiving is part of the mourning process where you relinquish the anger over the hurt. That's what mourning is about. Forgiving is nothing more than letting go of the hurt. Imagine someone comes running down and says, and I go, is there a Mr. Lewis in the audience? And you raise your hand, you're Mr. Lewis, okay? There's a telephone, it's urgent. And you go, I wonder what it could be. And you go outside, and you pick up the phone. I want you for a moment, just think of someone in your life that you have really hurt. You're there already, right? It doesn't take long, because it's right up, you feel guilty about it. Someone you acted in a really awful way too. Are you there? Someone you were selfish with, self-centered, didn't care about their feelings, took advantage of them because you were weak and didn't believe you could do it on your own. You used them. Are you there yet? Anyone not there? Anyone think they never hurt anyone? I'll get you afterwards because you're such a phony and faker. You're there, right? All right, now you're Mr. Lewis going outside with that in your head. It's that person. And the person says the following to you. Gee, I tracked you down this morning. You know, I just realized today that you know how you hurt me years ago? I don't hurt anymore. I just wanted you to know. I'm not sure we'll ever be any closer, but I just wanted you to know that I don't hurt anymore. Click. You come back in here. And I say, Mr. Lewis, can you come down the microphone right here? How do you feel? What are you going to say? Everybody at once. Everyone keep on talking. How do you... Why? You're free is right. You are no longer responsible for the pain because the pain is over. That's what forgiveness is. The other person lets go of the hurt. But they feel better because they're not holding on. You don't need to tell the other person you forgive them that you forgive them, but you need to act as if you're not hating them. Terrible things have happened to us in this world. The reason we have trouble forgiving people, you really want to know the reason? The reason we have trouble forgiving people is not because they hurt us, but because they got us angry in hurting us. Golda Meir was right when she said to Anwar Sadat, I can forgive you for killing our sons, but I can never forgive you for making us kill your sons. We hate the Germans for what they did, but we hate them because of the way they made us react to them. They made us hateful. We hate people who make us hate. That's what we hate. That's why we can't forgive. Because when you're not forgiving, you have been turned into the angry force, the spoiler, the person at the family gathering who will not be cheered up, who parades their pain from the past, letting everyone know that I will not be joyous. It's an existential thing, isn't it? At the Café à Deux Magots in Paris, where Jean Sartre used to hang out and write his stuff, there was a man who used to come in who, as a regular, because it's your place, you sit down, you get the newspaper, you have your coffee, you have your what, you have your meal, you talk, you spend your life in the cafe. And he noticed this man one day, and there's a season in Paris where the white asparagus comes out. I don't know if any of you are fancy enough to have... This is, after all, the valley. But there is the season of white asparagus, which the French make a big deal. You know, for like $18, they give you 4 spears that are about like this. And, of course, they know how to cook it. It's done terrific, and a little hollandaise on the sides. It's enough to stuff your arteries for a month. But it's... The white asparagus is, of course, the important moment. Next to the Beaujolais, nothing else happens. And he was sitting opposite this man, and the waiters came over and said, the white asparagus have come in today. And the man indignantly said, don't you remember, I'm the man who does not like the white asparagus. That was his entire identity, to be responding from the point of negativity. And when you are the one who will not be amused at the family gatherings, when you are the one who insists on living in the pain of the past and holding on to it, you are living in the same lie. You are waiting for someone to question your identity. Don't you know I'm the one who's never forgiven mother for being a drunkard? She's the one who hurt me. I would have been a different person had she been a sober, giving person I could have spoken to and been close to. Don't you remember? Mother was a drunk. Don't you remember? Have you forgotten? Lest you forget. Look at the tattoo. She destroyed my life by drinking. Wrong. She did not. She was just your drunken mother, and you didn't learn how to be any better. You thought that's how you had to be. You don't have to be like that. You don't have to be in someone's target range. you can be free. And the way you become free is you realize the level of your love for the person who hurt you. Do you love them or do you not? Don't lie about it now, folks, because you've been doing a lot of lying about this. And the reason you're afraid to say it is that if you say you don't love someone who you think you're supposed to love, you think you're a bad person too. And the only reason you get the upper hand, you think, is you say, but I love my mother and look what she does to me. Wrong, you don't love that person. Stop pretending you don't love, you didn't love, and you haven't loved. It's time to grow up, and it's time to see it clearly. Once you do that, then something miraculous happens. You don't really care. That's just the way they are, and that's just the way they act, and you happen to be the one who's around. If you weren't there, they would have molested, abused, been terrible to anybody else. It had nothing to do with you. You took it personally, just because they were a parent or just because they were a friend. Assholes will be assholes with whoever is around to abuse. Stop taking it personally. Whoops. This is George's job. It's a jurisdictional problem here with the labor union, but he's British and doesn't have a green card, so what the hell?
I'm committed to being freed up. That's why I'm here. And forgive me if you answer this, but I want to make sure I understand the prescription. The 12 things, are you saying that it also can apply to the past hurts and be an adjunct to the forgiveness and people that are dead?
Sure, absolutely.
Then I could get done in a week.
Well, let me help you. Oh, well,
Okay.
No. We're gonna stretch it out. There's some people you really hate, who really hurt you.
It seems like I've already done.
Well, no. We're gonna help you out. We're gonna help you out. Do you have a Xerox?
Yes. What? I have one available to me. What
Well,
do you mean?
we're gonna help you out. So you get their names out on a nice piece of paper, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Xerox. And you Xerox a whole bunch of them, right?
Yeah.
This is gonna work. Trust me, Eleanor.
I'm trusting.
You gotta trust me. And this is what I want you. You have a car? Do you drive?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. You keep it in the glove compartment. All right.
The Xerox pieces of paper.
Right.
Yes.
And with their
got
name
it.
in it.
Uh-huh.
Right. Every time you see one of those Johnny on the spots,
I don't get it.
they're portable toilets.
Oh.
Stop the car, go out and put one in the portable toilet.
Uh-huh.
And notice the location. Okay? And it's good to do it along a route that you go in. They're all over the place. You just don't notice them.
No, I haven't.
Are they all over the place? They're all over the place. They're portable toilets. And I want you to put 100 of these in portable toilets that you pass by, so that when you go into work, you think the whole world is doing your dirty work for you. Now, what I want you to know is there's a profound religious basis for this. What do you know? I'm going to tell you. There's a deep religious basis. If you are aware of Tantric Buddhism and the Buddhism that's practiced in Tibet, it is the Buddhism that believes that the initiation of prayer to an object and then giving energy of motion to that object sets the prayer in motion. You will know that they have prayer wheels that they spin around with prayers in them. Oh, this is so far removed and crazy. It's almost like a mezuzah. You touch it and the prayer works. Excuse me, you know what I mean? It's almost like swallowing a little biscuit. Oh, it's Jesus in my mouth. Same thing, folks. Let's all remember. It's all symbolic. If it works, it celebrates the idea of being free. The whole point of all religions is to speak the truth and it'll set you free. Every religion says the same thing. I'm just giving you the psychology of how to do it. So, Johnny on the spot is your prayer wheel.
Got it. Thank you.
You didn't know I was that religious, did you? Yes.
David, would you allow me to make a statement instead of a question?
If it's not too gushingly...
No, I just want to say that I've been to 3 of your seminars. I've read Feeling Free. I got rid of a negative relationship, and everything you're saying is wonderful, and I want to thank you.
You're welcome. Sit down. I can deal with anything but compliments. It's a flaw of my character, because the truth is I'm so egocentric, what I want to do is correct you and tell you how good I really am. and only my people who work with me know how truthful that is. See, I'm aware of my weakness. You got to be aware of it. I'll give you a script next time so you do it better, okay?
Okay, I'm really nervous. I got to ask you this question. I think you said a statement that controlling people shouldn't be in your life. Now, I have a very controlling father, okay? He's never wrong, and he's never sorry. But I feel like I'm in a win-lose situation with him. He helps me financially
That's how
so
they do
that
it.
I can become, I feel right now, for me to become independent of him. He controls not just me, the whole family.
You're how old?
36.
I'd hate to be hanging since you were a spring chicken, as my mother would say.
Yeah, it's just a bad situation.
You're paying him for his ownership of you. Controlling people operate in the following way. They give you things that you would not be able to get if you were on your own at that stage in your life. And they control you by threatening to take them away.
No, he doesn't threaten to take
He
them away.
does.
He reminds me about what he did 20 years ago.
Why would he do that unless he were threatening not to give more, which is like taking away? All right? The point is you have validated his power by flaunting your weakness.
Right.
Everything you take from him is a validation of the fact that you can't do it for yourself. What he has done is he has taken away the motivation you have to be better and stronger. If you take a look at the children of rich kids, children of rich parents, they are the wimps of the world. Because I know a woman, I bought my house from this woman. She has a trust fund of $1.4 billion. Okay? Very famous family. When the gas prices went up in the early 70s, $0.50 per gallon, she said, gee, we can't afford to drive to our Palm Springs home anymore. It's too expensive. She was right. Because if she lost her money, she would have nothing. Because she doesn't know how to earn a dime. She spent her life as an alcoholic and died of an alcoholic because she was terrified what would happen if she would lose her money. That's what her father, who was an extraordinarily controlling person, did to her. He destroyed her. Now, you are the accomplice. Your father can only work with you in a system in which you agree. Stop taking anything.
But wait a minute.
Stop taking anything from your father. Take nothing from your father.
Okay, so
no money.
Wait a minute,
nothing.
David.
Take nothing.
Wait a
nothing.
second. I've got 3 kids to support.
Support them yourself.
How?
I don't know.
To school.
Well, it's too bad.
I'm
You should be
gonna
out of
work
school
and
by
I
now.
can't do
Why
it.
are you out of school? Why shouldn't you be down on your
I
own?
should be, but I never
You're
did.
never going to get out of school.
Bullshit.
Then do it now. You are, you're already, look at the argument. The argument, let me give you your argument.
Because I believe I can do it now.
No, let me give you the argument. Oh, come on, listen to me. Here's the argument you're making, and you're hating this because it's what I am describing your prison to you. You're saying, I can't do it. I can't do it on my own. I can't bring up those kids. I don't have enough. I'd have to struggle. This wouldn't be good. I'm going to school. I can't go to school and work and bring up kids. I need this. I can't do this. Your problem is not your financial problem, but the emotional crippling that you have that you believe you can't do it. Of course you can do it. You can bring up 3 kids who will say, my mother, look at her, she's terrific, I respect her. Sure, it's harder now, but she did it herself. I believe in her, she could do it. What you're teaching your kids is that without your father's support and without financial support, you can't do it. That's the lesson they're learning. That's the only lesson they're learning. All the morals, all the values, it boils down to one thing, is that their mother has been under the thumb of a father who she despises for controlling her and is too weak to stand up for it. That's the only message they're getting. And they're losing respect for you. And
They don't have any respect.
No wonder. You don't believe me? Do it all on your own and you'll be free. And they'll respect you. Don't do it. And the hell that you live in is not with your father, but with your children and yourself for the life that you've created by believing you couldn't do it. Here's the second point. It's all your fault. Isn't
I
that,
agree.
that's great. That means if you had the fault to make it all bad, you have the power to make it better. And you only get the power by admitting it. Cut your father off. Do you know what your father is afraid of? That without giving you money, there'd be no reason for you to pay attention to you. Because all a controlling person is a dependent person who learned how to make a living.
That's true.
And the thing he's afraid of is that you won't have anything to do with him.
Well, I mean, I really know in my heart that if I was supporting myself and I didn't need him, I would never talk to him again.
So why bother to talk to him? It's killing you.
And he does the same thing to my mother.
Who
It
cares?
kills me that she...
Who cares?
I know, but...
The only reason your mother is sticking around with your father is that you still come over and do things. She lives for the times you come over. You give her a break. If she was allowed to suffer and feel her pain from living them, she'd say, I can't stand this anyhow. Lori doesn't come over here because he can't stand, and the whole thing would change. You are making it work for him.
Okay.
Okay? You see, a dependent person believes they need another person to be complete. A dependent person is concerned about being lovable. A dependent person is concerned about what other people think of them. A controlling person just doesn't want other people to be free. That's all a controlling person wants. That you're not going to be free to make the decision you would make if you were free to make it. What's the decision you would make if you were free to make it? That you wouldn't spend the afternoon with me. That's all. And that's what they're controlling for. And they are controlling night and day. There is no way you can get ahead of them. You can't outwit them. You can't outplot them. They're doing it all day. It's like playing Pac-Man. Ever try to omit those guys? They're doing that all day. You come there for 2 minutes, you're out of practice. They got you. Isn't that the truth? Controlling people are going. You tune into them. Gotcha. I mean, they are slick, they are fast, they do it without a heartbeat, they do it reactively, they're taking over, they're controlling, they know the right, they know the truth, and if you don't want to do it, well, we'll just see how you'd like to do without the car. Okay? Well, we don't have to let you rent. If you don't want the place, we'll rent it to someone else, that's fine. You don't have to go to college, you could work. Oh, fine, so we'll just close down the summer house. No, I don't think you should come out to the ski house, I'm renting it that week. And they do it like, they're quick. They don't even have a thought process. You're dead. Answer. Don't need them for anything. And then they don't have any way to get at you. Time? You're the last one.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
You said about pain, running away from it and avoiding it. Isn't that also we should use it to grow? Use it to ask why this is happening to us and try and grow from that?
I didn't say to run away from it.
Okay, I thought I heard you say that. To avoid it.
If you thought I said that, you were not listening to any of the other things I said.
Oh, I was, yeah.
Okay. No. You grow through your pain, but pain is always the process of mourning, is learning to give up the anger over the hurt so that you're free to move on to the next event in your life without residual pain. The way you find your strength, therefore, is to realize that it's always present. You are your strength if you can speak your feelings honestly. You're your strength if you're free to love. But you can only be free to love if you're forgiving of yourself and other people. Other people are just other people. And if you want to point to them as the reason life has not gone well for you, you may be pointing out a truth, but the greater truth is that you've chosen to use the example of their hurting you as the reason why you're not growing. The answer is always you. You are responsible for everything in your life that brought you to this point. You may not be responsible for the events that happened to you, but you are absolutely 100% responsible for how you reacted to those events. You have created your own prison. Guess what? The key is in your hands. All you have to do is admit what you did wrong and say, I've learned from that. What does it mean to learn from something? It means that you have the capacity to do bad things to yourself, and not only will you not do them again, but you will be aware of the fact that you will want to do them again. Because that's what pulls you close to the devil. The devil. And the devil is you. It's saying, I want someone to take care of me. I want someone to rescue me. I want it to be easy. I want a break. I've suffered. I've put in my dues. I have paid my dues. I want it to be easy now. That is the devil. Patient came in and asked, I don't know why, after 30 years in therapy and all this, why? I've paid my dues. Why? Why are there still stones in the road? And I took a look at her and I said, when you pay your dues, what happens is, it's not that the road is clear, but you have the knowledge that there are stones in the road. Paying your dues is the knowledge of the obstacle, so that you can go, oh, there's a stone in the road. Oh, there was another one. Now I'm turning back. That stone's still there. It didn't go away. That's absolutely true, yes. Stones in the road. Don't have to hit them. It's a choice. I don't have to hit the stones at all. The truth is, when you pay your dues, you are allowed to see the world clearly. There are fools. There are thieves. There's danger. When you're in a crowded area, you watch your pocket. When you're in an open area, you make sure that you park your car near a light where you can get to the place quickly, and you go there with key in hand so that you're in, out, engine running, back up. Don't worry about the safety thing. You'll click that out when you're moving. You look around. You act with purpose. You realize that the world is not safe, and you act appropriately so that you can be happy when you're happy and sad when you're sad. That's all it is. So that you don't expect the world to be free of stones, but you at least understand that since the stones are there, and you are you, and you're the one who will hurt when you trip, that you don't trip over the stones. Life is as complicated as you want to hide from it. It is as simple as you want to see. I hope I have made it a little easier for you to get through the problems of life. And I really ask you, if you really want to get the most out of this, you really should pick up today's tape. I love those plugs. Matt twisted my arm and said, you got to do that, Viscott. Oh, I gave my secret name. You are the central force of your life. No one else is here to save you. No one else is here to do anything that's really going to make it better. And if someone comes to give you something that's going to make it better before you have decided to make it better yourself, you won't be able to accept it, and the other person will feel disappointed that your response isn't full, and they'll pull back anyhow. Everything depends on you. I hope I've brought you one step closer to that process of shedding the pain of difficult times and finding happiness in your own terms. Thank you for having me.